Nigerian, and I would hate to just butcher his name right now. Oh gosh, but it's Romeo. I want to say it's Okwara. But if that's who you have, and you have him in the fold, and you know Jason Pierre-Paul is going to be available, go get your guy. Because again, we're not talking about Drew Brees being at 33. We're talking about Drew Brees possibly being at 38, 39. That window is about to close real quick. And Jack Frost is outside blowing cold there, meaning that it's going to lock up and freeze up. You better do something.
Well, I think we're all in agreement now. If they will or how they'll do it, that's the question. I mean, we can talk about draft picks all day long. I know I want Barry to at least get into his second pick. We don't have time to probably go through all 7, which is fine because we got plenty more days heading up to the draft. We're not short on time as Saints fans. We don't have a Super Bowl to look forward to this year. But, besides all that, the Saints could come out and I'm telling people, get ready for this. Watch it. You can see the Saints draft a wide receiver in the second round. You can see them draft a tight end with, a perfectly good linebacker sitting right there ready to get picked. You could see, and I say this because we've watched this happen, you could see like a Zach Cunningham type linebacker who is very talented, has different ratings between different people. Some have him between a first and second round. Some people have him as a top 15 pick. But guys slide every year. You could see a guy like that start sliding. He's available. Then the Saints just saw this beautiful wide receiver out of Kansas State, and Kansas State makes these great slot receivers, and they go after him, and we're all sitting here just looking like, what the heck did we just do? I mean, we just had a similar situation when we drafted Stanley Jean-Baptiste. There were multiple players Saints fans wanted really badly that we passed on to get him, and now he's no longer with the team. So it's not just having to do it. It's will they get together and everything's all right? As Barry said, Jeff Ireland has come in and really helped the draft situation. It's just the free agency system that we got to work on. I'm like you. I mean, I'm burned out on the big deals that don't, they don't bear fruit. I mean, I would much rather us sign 6, 7, 8 quality free agents than us to go after the big boom pick. I'll be upset if Jason Pierre-Paul is the only player we bring in free agency with maybe one other name. I would rather you bring in 8 guys who are backups just to give us some depth for when the injuries seem to inevitably happen. We're not signing B.W. Webb off the streets when he's probably working, at the Convenience Mart or wherever he's working when he's not playing the NFL. I want us to actually have players who can step in and be like, okay, we got this, no big deal. That's what I worry about because the Saints have not been a depth signing team in free agency in quite some time, and that's my stressing point, whoever they get. Maybe they go get Addison. Maybe they go get Kyle for whatever reason, but as long as they get depth, they get multiple options for us to take care of everything, that's when I'll be happy.
Couldn't agree more. Barry, I know for your second name on the list, it's a young man who I also have a man crush on, and that's Raekwon McMillan from Ohio State, man. What is it about him that you see when you went to doing your analysis that made you feel like he's worthy of being a second-round pick, and he comes from a university that Sean Payton also has a big crush on?
Yeah, exactly. He comes from the Urban Meyer program, and to me, outside of Reuben Foster of Alabama, he's the best middle linebacker in this draft. The big name chosen one when he came to Columbus. He was the number 1 rated linebacker in the entire nation by Rivals.com, I believe, and ESPN's 150 or whatever they call it. I always can't remember the names of all the high school shooting charts or lists or whatever, but this kid was number 1 on all of them. He was the best linebacker in the entire country in high school, and he's versatile. He runs, I believe, 4.6, which for 4.6 is phenomenal. 6'3", 235 pounds. He has all that. He has ideal and size, with reckless abandon. I mean, this guy flies to the football and he lays the wood on you. Again, I compare him and Reuben Foster are 1 and 1A in my book. is as you get into the film, start looking at all the prospects, you'll see that the difference between Reuben Foster and Raekwon and Millen isn't that great. Goose mentioned Zach Cunningham, who's a very, very underrated guy, who I think is more of a workman, workhorse, whatever analogy you want to use for him. He's also an outstanding player. He's going to rack up tackles. I would hesitate to believe that Zach Cunningham will be the leading tackler in the NFL after a couple of years. I think he's going to be that good because he's always around the football. But as far as sheer athleticism, brute force, and when you think of middle linebackers, the classic guys, think of the Ray Lewis, or you want to go way back there and think of Bucs and all those type of guys. Right now in the game right now, I guess you would have maybe a C.J. Mosley of Baltimore is the guy that's a standout guy. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think more names on a blank right now. But outside of Foster, to me, McMillan is the best you can do, and he's a legit first-round guy who's probably going to go at the top of the second. I have his Mountain Saints because they were kicking 8 times in a obviously it's fallen back since they won. Now they might be kicking 11 or 12. He may or may not be there at that point. So, because now it would be, I think, 42nd pick or 43rd, whatever it is. Before it was the 40th overall pick. So, again, he to me, he's the one 3-down linebacker in this draft class that's destined. This kid is destined to be a superstar in the NFL. There's just no question about it. To me, outside of Reuben Foster, I hate putting labels on guys. I always get myself in trouble. He's the next Ray Lewis, or he's the next this, or he's the next that. But this kid's going to be the next great middle linebacker. So I have no doubt about it. Look, Ohio State has a great prospect the last few years, and I'm for to get through up here. Michael Thomas, Don Bell. But he's still on the board. He's in that second round. Raekwon and Bell is still there. If they pass on it, I'll have to stroke. I literally have a stroke on these guys. It's a phenomenal talent. You can't have it.
Well, I think there's one guy. There's actually a couple guys. There's several guys anyway. I've been going through film early this year. I will be writing several articles. There's one guy that I'm high on. Starting off early, he's not a big name guy. He's not, a lot of teams don't have him rated very high that I've read yet. He's a third to fourth round talent as he sits right now. But if you watch his film, really, really fits the New Orleans offense. And I think the Saints are going to watch him and go for him, even though he is in a position that we have well covered. And the guy I'm talking about is Jeremy McNichols, running back out of Boise State. You watch his film, you watch this guy, he is the epitome of a New Orleans Saints offensive player, just the style of system that they run. In 3 seasons, this guy's had 4 games, 4 with less than 4 yards per carry, and one of those was a 2-carry game. But he's got everywhere from a 3rd to 5th round grade. People say that the Saints have got running backs and they don't go for it, but if you look at Sean Payton's tenure, he has consistently gone after running backs all throughout the draft. Marcus Murphy, Danny Lasco, Antonio Pittman, Reggie Bush, Mark Ingram. I mean, there is almost at least every year, every 2 years, there's been a running back somewhere he goes for, plus all the ones in UDFA. So I think we need to just go ahead and prepare ourselves for it, that this is very possible. And because of that, I've been watching this guy's film, and I've just been very impressed by how he plays. He's not a massive guy, but he's not a small guy either. And like I said, I'm let me just throw some stats to y'all. I know this is Boise State. We're not talking about the SEC. He's 5'9". I'm taller than this guy. But he's 210 pounds, decent size, 1,600 rushing yards this season, 1,300 rush yards last season. He's got a career 5.7 average. But here's the thing that Sean Payton's going to love. 450 yards receiving at least in the past 2 years. He is one of the best receiving backs in college football right now coming out, and he did announce that he's going to come out. If he were to go back to it for his senior season, he might become a first-round grade, but because he's coming out early, I really like him, and I think the Saints should snag him. I know we're focused on defense, but let's all just face reality. The Saints are going to pick some form of offensive player and probably a skill position, so I'd watch out for this guy.
No question. I mean, it's what the Saints do. The only reason why I wonder, I mean, of course it's possible, but I wonder if they'll take that chance is because the Saints, much like with wide receiver, have really found so much success, basically bringing in undrafted guys that I'm not really sure if showing. I mean, at this point, sometimes it's just maybe overconfident. It's the idea that I can find a running back. I can find one, maybe in the 7th round. I can find one.
See, I understand that, but that's why I said what I said, because if you look at the past drafts, like Lasco, like Murphy, I mean, Antonio Pittman, Ingram, but keep in mind the guys that we have. We have Mark Ingram now. We have Tim Hightower. We had Pierre Thomas. We had Deuce McAllister. At the running back position, he always seems to be looking for the next guy. Even though we had the Chris Ivory already, even though we found the Lionel Hamilton and the Mike Bells, it didn't matter. That guy made this a rotating carousel, and he has consistently drafted running backs when we already had starting running backs. So it's not like I'm talking about, linebackers, which he seemed to avoid like the plague. I'm talking about running back, which he just hits on consistently. And I'm telling you, he's going to do it again. Saints fans are going to probably get mad about it because there's this beautiful edge rusher that's a sleeper pick by, Mike Mayock, who in 3 years he says is an all-pro, that we're going to pass on to get a running back or a tight end or something. I'm telling you, watch it. It's going to happen.
Christian McCaffrey. If Christian McCaffrey is there, I can definitely see the Saints taking it. Now, I'm not trying to discredit your guy as being a second, possibly 3rd round pick at earliest. And if he's a 4th round pick, then so be it. I'm not going to discredit what you're saying on that. I just feel like if Sean is a very confident guy, he is the type of guy that although you may have a wide receiver, which was a position of need, you may take a offensive tackle instead, which we saw him do. Mm-hmm. So, we know how this is possible. A lot of us, weren't really high on Stephon Anthony. We thought he would go in a different direction and take maybe Bernard McKinney, who played for the Texans, or maybe Aaron Kendrick, who played at UCLA instead. But, I mean, he, ended up taking Stephon Anthony. So, we all kind of, imagine that, Sean's going to take one guy. But I definitely think Christian McCaffrey is high on his list. He loves David Shaw, Stanford head coach. He loves Stanford guys. He feels like he's definitely kind of prone to taking West Coast guys as well as guys who are from that region where he was born and raised, the Chicago Midwest type of region. That's why Ohio State seems to be someone, seems to be a team that he consistently picks from because he loves that area. But I think Christian McCaffrey could definitely be the type of player that Sean Payton is looking for because he does fit that Darren Sproles, Reggie Bush, kind of Pierre Thomas type of mold, and you pair him with the Mark Ingram, and now you have exactly what you haven't had since Darren Sproles left, and we all know that Tavares Cadet can't be that guy. Can Lasco be that? Maybe he can, maybe he can't. We'll never know because Sean doesn't give him the opportunities needed, but at this point, I mean, Christian McCaffrey could be the guy if Sean Payton is going to take a person on offense. 1st round, and it's not an offensive lineman, it would not shock me to hear Christian McCaffrey's name being called, and for him being that decoy type of running back that kind of lets the Saints offense know exactly what the defense is trying to do. Wouldn't shock me at all if it's him.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking Christian McCaffrey. I'm not. The reason that he's not the one that I'm just throwing out there, I think that he's going to go much higher than a Nichols. I mean, I know Nichols has got a, 3rd, 4th round grade maybe. But I think he's going to slip just because Boise State just doesn't seem to highlight 1st, 2nd round picks. I mean, that's just not one of the teams you go to. So I think that it's more likely that we spend a big name like we have consistently recently. We do the BPA, best person available. That's why we